Picture this. It's the middle of the night, 2 a.m. to be exact. You're lying awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling. But it might as well be a movie screen. Scene after scene of your life plays out in vivid detail. The choices you made last week, last year, and even a decade ago demand your attention. You wonder if you've picked the right career, the right partner, the right city to call home. Every word you've spoken in key conversations feels magnified, every pause dissected. And as you replay moments from the past, you also rehearse the future, imaginary situations that may never even unfold. Your mind has become a courtroom, where every thought is an attorney arguing its case. The charges: regret over what could have been, anxiety about what might be, and resignation about what may never come to pass. You try to brush it off, but the arguments persist, louder and more persuasive with each passing moment. You sit up, heart pounding, as a chilling truth settles over you. This is no ordinary restlessness. This is a prison, an invisible one, made not of steel bars, but of your own relentless thoughts. Its walls are built from endless deliberation, its gates sealed shut by fear. Fear of failure, fear of uncertainty, fear of making the wrong move. The more you try to break free, the tighter its grip becomes. Here's the irony. The harder you think, the less you live. You convince yourself that the key to peace lies in just one more thought, one more solution, one more plan. But that peace never comes. Instead, you remain stuck, trading precious moments of your life for a false sense of control. Why is this? Why does the mind, a tool celebrated for its intelligence and creativity, so often become a trap? Could it be that overthinking isn't a sign of brilliance, but rather a symptom of something deeper? What if it's fear, not wisdom, that's running the show? Fear of failure convinces you to analyze every possible outcome. Fear of uncertainty compels you to prepare for scenarios that may never occur. But what if all this thinking doesn't protect you? What if it's quietly consuming you instead? Every second spent fixated on the past or fretting over the future is a moment stolen from the present, a moment you'll never get back. Imagine looking back on your life and realizing that your most vivid memories aren't of experiences, but of the thoughts you had about them. Yet overthinking is sneaky. It masquerades as virtue, disguised as intelligence, diligence, or responsibility. You tell yourself you're being careful, weighing your options, playing it safe. But when does careful consideration turn into an endless spiral of rumination? And how often does that spiral leave you further from clarity than when you began? Here's the harsh truth. Overthinking doesn't solve problems. It creates illusions. It tricks you into believing that if you think hard enough, you can outsmart uncertainty, predict every twist of fate, and control the uncontrollable. But life doesn't work that way. Reality has the final word, no matter how much time you spend rehearsing. So the great question emerges. Can you think less and live more? Is it possible to step out of this mental maze and reclaim the present moment? If so, why does the mind resist stillness, even when it's drowning in its own noise? These questions aren't just worth asking, they're essential, because the cost of overthinking is far greater than we realize. It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your sense of self. To escape its grip, we need to dig deeper into the psychology and philosophy that fuel this habit. Are you ready to confront the truth about overthinking? To unravel the patterns and fears that keep you trapped, even if it means letting go of the illusion of control? The answers are waiting. Let's uncover them together. Why do we overthink? How does the mind, a brilliant tool capable of unraveling mysteries and solving problems, so often become our own worst enemy? To uncover the hidden roots of this problem, we must journey deep into the architecture of the human psyche, exploring both its evolutionary origins and its philosophical underpinnings. The human brain is a masterpiece of survival, designed to navigate a world filled with danger and unpredictability. For our ancestors, survival hinged on their ability to anticipate threats. A rustle in the bushes could mean a predator was lurking. A sudden shadow might signal danger. Overanalyzing every sound, every movement, every possibility wasn't just useful, it was essential. But the threats of today are not the same as those of the past. The lions hiding in the bushes have been replaced by abstract fears: failure, rejection, uncertainty, and the gnawing question of whether we're living a life of purpose. Yet our brains haven't fully evolved to differentiate between physical threats and existential ones. The same hypervigilance that kept early humans alive now traps us in a cycle of relentless rumination. In the modern age, this survival mechanism is amplified. We are constantly bombarded with information, options, and opinions. Every decision feels monumental, every choice a reflection of our identity. Social media whispers that we're not enough, showing us curated lives that seem flawless and unattainable. Consumer culture tells us that happiness hinges on making the right choices, choosing the perfect career, the ideal partner, the most fulfilling lifestyle. And so we overthink, endlessly strategizing to avoid failure, regret, or pain. But as Carl Jung wisely noted, what you resist persists. Overthinking doesn't give us control. It controls us. It convinces us that every problem has a perfect solution, if only we analyze hard enough. But life isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's an experience to be lived. The obsessive pursuit of perfection blinds us to the beauty of imperfection and the richness of the journey. This struggle isn't new. Philosophers throughout history have wrestled with the paradox of the overthinking mind. Friedrich Nietzsche warned us against a state of being consumed by self-doubt and analysis, where thought replaces action and life becomes a spectator sport. In Nietzsche's view, overthinking detaches us from our instincts, the very energy that makes life vibrant and meaningful. Arthur Schopenhauer took a bleaker approach. He believed that the mind's restless desire to control and understand the world is the root of human suffering. To Schopenhauer, overthinking isn't a tool for clarity, but a symptom of our futile attempt to conquer uncertainty. Jean-Paul Sartre introduced the idea of bad faith, the tendency to avoid responsibility for our freedom by convincing ourselves that we have no choice. Overthinking in this context becomes a form of bad faith, a way of deferring decisions and delaying action under the guise of careful planning. At its core, overthinking is driven by fear. Fear of making the wrong choice, fear of failure, fear of insignificance. In a world that glorifies success and demonizes mistakes, we are taught that our worth is tied to getting it right. Overthinking becomes our shield, a way to protect ourselves from vulnerability. But instead of liberating us from fear, overthinking deepens it. The more we try to control life, the more chaotic it feels. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, touched on this when he said that suffering ceases to be suffering when it finds meaning. Overthinking, then, is a form of suffering, a relentless search for meaning in a world that often defies explanation. Overthinking isn't just a personal struggle, it's a cultural phenomenon. The modern world inundates us with choices and opinions, creating a breeding ground for analysis paralysis. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World eerily predicted this reality, a society overwhelmed by distractions and information, but devoid of wisdom. Overthinking thrives in this environment, leaving us paralyzed by the sheer volume of possibilities. The cost of overthinking is more than just mental exhaustion. It steals our present moments, tethering us to the past where regret festers, or to the future where anxiety looms. As Sartre and Frankl remind us, the present is all we truly have. Overthinking robs us of it, replacing action with endless deliberation. And yet, overthinking feels deceptively safe. It offers the illusion of progress, the belief that we're actually addressing our problems. But in truth, it's a form of inaction masquerading as effort. It shields us from the discomfort of uncertainty and the vulnerability of taking risks. So how do we escape this mental maze? If overthinking is rooted in fear, fueled by cultural pressures, and perpetuated by illusion, Is liberation even possible? Can we silence the overthinking mind and reconnect with the present? Or is the very act of seeking freedom just another form of overthinking? The answers aren't simple, but they are worth pursuing. To find liberation, we must explore how overthinking shapes not just our decisions, but also our relationships, our sense of self, and the society we inhabit. Only by confronting these forces can we hope to break free. Imagine standing at a crossroads, paralyzed by indecision. The road ahead is cloaked in mist, obscuring its twists and turns, while behind you lies a trail of second-guessed choices. You hesitate, analyzing every possible outcome, convinced that the perfect path will reveal itself if you just think hard enough. But in the time you spend deliberating, life moves on. The opportunities you feared losing quietly fade into the distance, indifferent to your hesitation. This is the silent tragedy of overthinking. The illusion that more thought leads to better decisions, when in reality, it often leads to no decision at all. Psychologists call this phenomenon analysis paralysis, a state where the sheer number of choices overwhelms the mind, leaving you stuck. Research shows that when faced with too many options, people tend to avoid choosing altogether, or settle for the easiest default. Overthinking doesn't lead to clarity, it leads to stagnation. But the ripple effects of overthinking stretch far beyond indecision. They infiltrate every corner of your existence: mental, emotional, physical, social, and even societal, leaving a trail of unseen consequences. Overthinking wreaks havoc on your cognitive and emotional well-being. It bombards the brain with excessive information, causing cognitive overload. Your mind becomes a whirlwind of conflicting ideas, hypothetical scenarios, and endless worries. Chronic overthinkers often report feeling drained, emotionally detached, and trapped in cycles of rumination. Neurologically, overthinking activates the brain's stress response, flooding your system with cortisol, the hormone responsible for anxiety and the fight or flight reaction. When this response becomes chronic, it can lead to serious physical repercussions: insomnia, a weakened immune system, and even heart disease. Ironically, in trying to protect yourself from imagined threats, overthinking exposes you to very real harm. Overthinking doesn't just fog your mind, it warps your reality. Cognitive biases, like confirmation bias and catastrophizing, thrive in an overactive mind. Confirmation bias seeks out evidence that supports your fears, while catastrophizing blows minor problems out of proportion, turning them into seemingly insurmountable crises. These biases form a vicious cycle. Overthinking distorts your thoughts, and distorted thoughts fuel more overthinking. This skewed perception often seeps into relationships. For instance, you might replay a conversation endlessly, dissecting every word for hidden meanings or missteps. In doing so, you miss the chance to connect meaningfully with others. Loved ones may misinterpret your withdrawal as indifference, leading to unnecessary strain and distance. Overthinking isn't just an individual struggle, it's a cultural epidemic. In a society obsessed with perfection and productivity, the pressure to make flawless decisions is overwhelming. Social media magnifies this, showcasing idealized lives and amplifying the fear of falling short. Society frames failure as a flaw rather than a stepping stone to growth, making overthinking a widespread coping mechanism. This cultural obsession with overthinking stifles creativity and discourages risk-taking. Innovation and progress often spring from moments of courage and intuition, not endless analysis. Yet overthinking fosters a collective hesitation, leaving society stuck in the safety of mediocrity instead of boldly embracing the unknown. The most insidious consequence of overthinking is its theft of the present moment. While you're busy replaying the past or fretting over the future, life unfolds in real time. The laughter of a child, the warmth of the sun, the beauty of a fleeting moment, all pass unnoticed because your mind is elsewhere. Overthinking robs you of the one resource you can never reclaim: time. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and before you know it, you're looking back at a life half lived, haunted by the realization that your most vivid experiences were confined to your mind. Yet the prison of overthinking is not impenetrable. Its walls are built from fear, its bars forged from an illusion. The first step to breaking free is recognizing them for what they are. Overthinking feels productive. It offers the illusion of control. But it is not action, it is avoidance. Freedom comes from a shift in perspective. Accept that failure is not the enemy, it's a vital part of growth. Embrace the vulnerability of living authentically, taking risks, and leaning into uncertainty. Only by confronting these fears can you reclaim the present moment and rediscover the joy of truly living. The path forward begins here, not by thinking more, but by thinking differently. Are you ready to break free from the tyranny of your thoughts? Picture yourself standing before a mirror, gazing into your own eyes. The reflection feels familiar, yet strangely foreign, like a stranger wearing your face. This version of you, the one shaped by years of overthinking, is not the real you. It's a shadow constructed from fear, doubt, and endless analysis. But somewhere deep within, a spark ignites, a quiet yet powerful rebellion, and a voice whispers, "Enough." This is where the rebellion begins, not with a dramatic gesture, but with a choice, a decision to stop being a prisoner of your own thoughts, to reclaim your life one moment at a time. But how do you escape a cycle that feels so deeply ingrained, so automatic, and so overwhelming? It starts with understanding the truth. Overthinking is not your ally. It masquerades as a source of control, protection, and preparation, but in reality, it's a self-imposed trap. Overthinking is resistance. Resistance to uncertainty, vulnerability, and failure. The path to freedom lies in radical acceptance. Uncertainty is not the enemy. It's a fundamental part of life. Here is how you spark the rebellion. Recognize that overthinking is the problem, not the solution. Carl Jung famously said, "What you resist persists." Overthinking is an act of resistance, trapping you in a loop of endless what-ifs and if-onlys. It tricks you into believing that more thought equals better outcomes. But the first step to freedom is recognizing overthinking for what it truly is, the problem, not the solution. Embrace the power of action. Overthinking thrives in the absence of action. Nietzsche argued that self-discovery comes not from analysis, but from engagement with the world. Start small. Make that phone call, take that walk, or choose that option, even if it's not perfect. Action cuts through the paralysis of overthinking, replacing mental clutter with real-world momentum. Challenge the illusion of certainty. At the core of overthinking lies the futile quest for certainty, an impossible desire to control the uncontrollable. Soren Kierkegaard calls this the leap of faith, the courage to live fully despite not knowing what comes next. Accepting uncertainty is profoundly liberating. It allows you to act without guarantees, freeing you from the need to have all the answers. Reframe failure as growth. Overthinking feeds on the fear of failure, but failure is not the enemy. It's the foundation of growth. Every misstep is a lesson in resilience, adaptability, and self-awareness. Reframe failure as feedback. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What can I learn?" Each stumble brings you closer to clarity. Practice presence. Overthinking lives in the past and in the future, stealing you away from the present moment. Mindfulness can anchor you in the now. Picture yourself sitting by a stream, watching your thoughts float past like leaves on the water. You don't need to grab them or chase them, just observe. Mindfulness creates space between you and your thoughts, giving you clarity and calm. Rewrite your narrative. Much of overthinking stems from limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I always fail. Or I must be perfect. These stories are not truths. They are scripts you've been conditioned to follow. Challenge them. Replace "I can't afford to fail" with "every failure is a stepping stone to success." Rewrite the narrative in your favor. Cultivate self-compassion. Overthinking comes with a side of harsh self-criticism, but treating yourself with kindness and understanding is a powerful antidote. Kristin Neff's research on self-compassion reveals that it reduces anxiety and builds resilience. By creating a safe and forgiving inner space, you weaken the grip of overthinking. Let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism is the fuel of overthinking. The belief that everything must be flawless is paralyzing. Embrace imperfection as a natural part of the human experience. Sometimes good enough is all you need to move forward. By letting go of perfectionism, you gain the freedom to act, to learn, and to grow without fear. Breaking free from overthinking isn't about silencing your thoughts. It's about reclaiming your power over them. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer, the creator, the one who decides how to respond. This rebellion requires courage and patience, but with every small step, the weight of overthinking lifts. The noise fades, and in its place, you'll find clarity, peace, and the joy of simply being. This is the way out. The rebellion against overthinking, the journey back to yourself. And in the stillness that remains, you discover the freedom you've been seeking all along. Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a cliff, gazing out over an infinite ocean. The waves below rise and fall with a steady, unknowable rhythm. In their vastness, you feel the weight of life's uncertainty, the raw beauty of existence, and the fragile miracle that is now. And then it hits you. The ocean doesn't need to be understood to be beautiful. The waves don't need to be controlled to be powerful. The horizon doesn't need to be reached to hold meaning. And in that moment, you let go. And for the first time, you feel truly free. This is the ultimate truth. Life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. Overthinking is more than just a habit. It's a symptom of a deeper fear. Beneath the constant analysis lies an illusion, the belief that by thinking enough, we can tame life's chaos. But control is a lie, a comforting illusion we cling to in the face of life's unpredictable nature. The ocean doesn't resist the waves, it flows with them. To transcend overthinking, you don't need to defeat it. Instead, dissolve your attachment to it. The key isn't in outsmarting your thoughts, but in surrendering to the mystery of existence. At its heart, overthinking is a desperate attempt to control life's outcomes. We analyze, plan, and obsess, hoping to avoid pain or ensure success. Yet life is inherently unpredictable, a pendulum between pain and boredom, as Schopenhauer put it. Resisting this chaos only distances us from the flow of life itself. Let go of the need to control. Like the ocean waves, life moves with grace when we surrender and trust its natural rhythm. The ego thrives on overthinking. It tells you, you must solve this. You must have it all figured out. It ties your worth to constant mental effort, convincing you that to stop thinking is to fail. But the ego is a trickster, feeding on separation and pulling you away from the present moment. As Carl Jung noted, overthinking often masks deeper truths, the shadow self, the parts of you the ego fears to confront. Freedom lies in embracing your wholeness, even the parts you hide from yourself. Here's the paradox. The harder you fight against overthinking, the tighter its grip becomes. True freedom isn't achieved through struggle, but through acceptance. Jean-Paul Sartre called this the burden of freedom, the inescapable truth that you alone are responsible for creating meaning in your life. Overthinking is an escape from this responsibility, a safe cocoon of questions and analysis. But freedom begins when you embrace life's uncertainty and step boldly into the unknown. The ultimate truth is stunningly simple. The present moment is all there ever is. Overthinking thrives in the past and in the future, weaving stories that pull you away from the now. but the present is where life happens. By anchoring yourself in the present, the storm of thought loses its power. You realize you are not the wave, but the ocean beneath it, steady, infinite, and whole. Letting go of overthinking doesn't mean abandoning thought. It means reclaiming your power over it. Your thoughts are tools, not masters. Use them wisely, but don't be ruled by them. Imagine a bird soaring through the sky. It doesn't overanalyze the wind or calculate every movement. It trusts the currents and lets itself be carried. In the same way, trust life's flow, and you'll find the freedom beyond anything your mind could construct. Freedom from overthinking is not a destination, it's a practice, a choice you make each day, to choose curiosity over fear, to choose action over hesitation, to choose presence over distraction. As Alan Watts said, you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Overthinking narrows that aperture. Letting go expands it, allowing the fullness of life to flow through you. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the ocean, not the waves. The silence, not the noise. When you truly understand this, overthinking loses its grip. You no longer need to wrestle with your mind or seek answers in endless loops of thought. Instead, you rest in the simplicity of being, trusting that life will unfold exactly as it's meant to. As you stand at the edge of this realization, take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, the ground steady beneath your feet, the rhythm of your heartbeat. This is your anchor, your connection to the present. When overthinking strikes, return to this anchor. Remember, you are not the storm, you are the sky. The ocean awaits. The only question is, will you dive in? I hope you have found meaning in these principles and ideas. I hope they can help you to calm your restless mind the way they are helping me to calm my own. Thank you for watching.